Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Undercurrent. I'm Deanna Cooney, your host. In our first story this week, Bass catches up with Damien Warren Smith to discuss his award-winning Fringe Festival show, Gary Starr Performs Everything. It'll be on at the Blue Room, and here's the story.
I'm with Damien Warren Smith here today, and he's a performer that is going to be performing as Gary Starr Performs Everything in the World Fringe Festival 2019. Damien, how are you today?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit about what it takes to be Gary Starr. To me, he sounds like he's a bit of a frantic, incredible performer who's doing many different genres and a bit of a mess up of everything.
Yeah, the concept of the play is that Gary Starr, this character I've created, is a failed or disgraced Shakespearean actor who he gets kicked out of the Royal Shakespeare Company and decides that since no one will hire him, he's going to single-handedly save the performing arts by performing as many genres of theatre as possible, with the slightly misguided belief that this is going to save art, that he will somehow reignite people's passion for theatre through his skill.
Very ambitious task.
I think it's very ambitious, yeah. Interesting to see whether or not people believe that he succeeds. But I do get a lot of like social media comments of people being like, hey, thanks for saving theatre, or hey, I'm glad I could help you save theatre. So people obviously get that it's a joke. But there's a lot of ways that we are very similar, Gary Starr and I. But I don't, at the end of the show, in all of the marketing, I don't talk about the fact that he's a character. I pitch it as a real thing. So you're right, people do believe it a lot of the time, and I quite often have people come up to me afterwards and they're like, wow, when were you in the Royal Shakespeare Company? Because my cousin's in the Royal Shakespeare Company. I'm like, no, I was never in it.
That's my character.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think he genuinely wants to save theatre. I think he, more than anything, he just wants to play. He really follows the joy, and he does things, I think, without fully understanding the impact of those things, but because people want him to do them. I think he's very high status but very low intelligence.
Right. And of course, Damien Warren Smith, though, as a genuine person and performer, has a much higher IQ.
I hope so. I'm sure there are people who disagree. My brother, hi Jason, yeah, he'd probably disagree.
Tell us, what are some of the genres that you play in Gary Starr Performs Everything? Because there's quite a few, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess I cracked through about 14, I think, in total. We moved from classical theatre, physical theatre, Cirque Nouveau, into some other more obscure things like Buto, which is a Japanese dance theatre. Mask performance, romantic comedy. It's a little bit loose. They're not all this, actually genres. A lot of them are just an art form or a style of.
For the sake of comedy and entertainment, I guess you've chosen them.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that they're not all well-defined genres is also an added stupidity on Gary's behalf.
What would be the words that you'd use to market this event?
To say to people, to give them an idea of the experience they'll have is not necessarily how I'd market it. I mean, I'd market it by saying, it's a disgraced actor who's trying to save theatre by performing every genre in under an hour. But I would say people's experience is going to be, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of audience interaction. And it's interesting that some people are put off by that, but never once they've seen the show. And a lot of time the people who sometimes just people just volunteer from the audience. Other times, I'll pick someone, and quite often their first reaction is, oh no, and then they get up and they have the most amazing time.
It's so cool when it's interactive. I find that that's usually the best form of entertainment.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. It's what I do. Play with the audience is the thing that I do. So to cut audience interaction out and audience play out would be a bit like a stand-up comedian cutting language out of their set. It's play. It's all about play. It's not about what I say. It's about what we do.
What would you say to aspiring up-and-coming actors that want to get into Fringe World Festivals with their shows?
You just got to do it. I mean, it's only the only barrier is that first one, like the first show. So, and even if it's a half-formed idea, just book yourself in. Book yourself in to Fringe World or any of these Fringe festivals with a rough idea of what a show is, and then just come and do it. And once you've done it once, you'll have a much clearer idea. You want a great marketing image, and you want, that's mine there. and you want a good blurb, even if the show doesn't end up being exactly about what the blurb is, you've got to think of this is the image, this is what's selling your show.
Perfect. Damien, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really love talking to you today. All the best with your opening show tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. I'm Bas Tadros for Undercurrent.
Up next, we have another story from Bass. This week, he spoke with Larissa Meisner, a recent recipient of the Churchill Fellowship, about the organisation People Sense and Larissa's research into mental health.
Today I'm speaking with Larissa Meisner, and she has been awarded the Churchill Fellowship for 2018, looking in the healthcare sector as to where some gaps were that she identified that could be improved here in Australia. Larissa, how are you?
Well, thank you.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about your experience. What drew you to the Churchill Institute, and how was the process?
So operating in private practice, seeing a number of clients with post-traumatic stress disorder across anything from car accidents to sexual assault victims to first responders, I noticed that there was a particular gap in that clients could go along and see their psychologist once, maybe twice a week. They could be co-managed by their general practitioner, and if their symptoms were to exacerbate to a particular point, there were very little places for them to go other than to a hospital, which unfortunately had a particularly poor rate of outcomes and successfully treating these individuals, which kind of perpetuated a bit of a revolving door of clients going between the two systems. And I learned about a particular program in the Netherlands where they were doing things very differently in a residential format. They were using intensive treatment modes and they were getting terrific outcomes. So something like 70% of people were in remission after less than 2 weeks of treatment. And so I thought, goodness, there must be better ways to do this, and there must be other people out there doing something similar. And so I investigated and found a number of places around the world doing really good trauma treatment. And that's what motivated me to apply for a Churchill Fellowship.
And so what is a Churchill Fellowship?
So when Winston Churchill passed away, there was a particular drive in Australia, and people were so moved by the impact he'd had on the whole Commonwealth that they essentially opened their doors, their wallets and their purses and donated a huge sum of money, to the point where that money is now being held in trust, and in perpetuity they now grant fellowships every year to Australians who are passionate about a particular topic in any field, from the arts to healthcare to sport to environment and government, and it allows them the freedom and the opportunity and the privilege to travel overseas, to obtain information and research that's not available here, and to then bring that back so that it benefits the Australian community.
What did you think of the whole process?
I was incredibly fortunate to be offered a Churchill Fellowship. There are a large number of applicants every year, and I found the process to be incredibly encouraging. The individuals and the people that work at the Churchill Trust are really committed to driving innovation in all fields. What I particularly like about the Churchill Trust is that it doesn't just offer opportunities to people in association with tertiary study. So it's not associated with a degree or any type of university, which means that people from all walks of life apply. And it means that the information that's brought back doesn't sit within academia, but it really does get disseminated and embedded within the community.
So would you recommend this process to others?
Definitely. It's an incredibly simple application process. The first part is all done online, where you submit your idea, your passion, and your proposed itinerary with what you'd like to research. And from there, the Churchill Trust shortlists applicants, and those who are successful go to an interview. From there, each state and territory sends its finalists to Canberra, where they confirm and finalise the nominees, and from there they award the Churchill Fellowships on an annual basis.
Wow. And so after you do all the research, what's expected? Is it more that you document what your findings are, or that you present it back in Canberra?
The expectation is that when you return as a Churchill Fellow, you produce a report which is available to the general public online so that everyone can read and find out about what you've done. But more importantly, within your industry, your sphere, and the area that you're researching, there's an expectation that you will disseminate, publish, and I guess widely promote the findings that you found from your research.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the residential program for post-traumatic stress is about, or what it entails?
Sure. Well, look, there are a lot of different models that I looked at, places in the Netherlands, the United Kingdom and around America, and they each will treat trauma slightly differently. What is emerging in the current research, though, is that intensive treatment models, whereby people stay for a shorter length of time and do a lot more hard work while we're there, are very effective. Previously, there was an idea that people who are struggling with PTSD might not be able to tolerate such intense treatments, but now we're finding that not only can they tolerate it, they actually benefit from more intensive modes. And there's also the adjunct of adding integrated therapies, so exercise therapy, equine therapy, as well as traditional psychotherapies, and a much less focus on medication. So really innovative, exciting ideas that are producing some terrific outcomes.
That just sounds like good news, I think. It sounds like good news for a lot of the people in the community that have suffered from post-traumatic stress. And who else is someone that you think is a prime candidate for this kind of support?
I think definitely people who encounter trauma in their everyday work lives, police, firefighters and paramedics, but also people who have just struggled with really horrific and traumatic upbringings who, through no fault of their own, now probably suffer not only from post-traumatic stress disorder but other comorbid conditions, substance abuse, depression, anxiety. And what they've found is these treatment modes that work so well on post-traumatic stress, if you can relieve those symptoms, quite often that can have a beneficial flow-on effect to other things like their substance use.
Bas Tadros for Undercurrent.
Up next, Tegan has a chat with Max and Reba from the Make Space Theatre Company, a collective of local actors and writers who are planning to bring lively, fun theatre to the people of Perth. Here's the story.
Hi, this is Tegan. I'm here in Guildford today to speak to Max and Reba about their upcoming events and performances for the newly founded company, Makeshift Theatre Company. So would you guys be able to tell me about your company? And so you both co-founded it together? Yeah. So how did that kind of conversation come about?
So basically I've been doing theatre ever since I was like 10, and just one day I kind of thought I really want to make a theatre company called Make Space Theatre Company, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and Max came home and read my idea and said, let's do it. I said, really? And so having the support of Max kind of made it become real life, so that was cool. Yeah.
So you've only got one performance so far that's coming up, or do you have a whole range, like, kind of prepared?
Well, it's 3 plays over 2 nights, but we do all the 3 plays each night. And I mean, for this time it is, but we're going to gauge our support and see where we go from there. We're a not-for-profit organisation and it's all community-based. We source all our works originally or through friends and our writers group, which I'm trying to build. And all our actors are local. It's all a community-based organisation.
Alrighty, and so Reba, you said that you did acting and theatre as a kid. So Max, how did you kind of get your role through this? Yeah.
Well, I've been writing for a long time, and I decided to write a movie to impress Reba when I first met her, and then I decided I liked writing scripts, so I wrote a few plays, and that's what's coming up now.
That's very cool. And what is the overall aim of the company?
I guess our aim is to kind of bring life of theatre back into the community without being on a major scale or an unaffordable scale or something that looks too good to go and see. I don't know, we really want to bring theatre onto a really fun and lively scale just for the community to just come out and enjoy. And we also want to definitely promote like creation, new work basically. Like Max is a writer, we want actors to have just an outlet to come and play, because that's kind of the base level of acting really, just to have fun with it. So yeah, it's all about fun.
Is there any workshops or any classes, or is it just creating the plays through the company?
We're just creating plays through the company, but we're learning together and building ourselves together. There's a really cool dramaturg we have called Nicholas, and he's been helping me write my plays, and he's done a few fringes in the past. He's been amazing for me.
And so this isn't part of Fringe? No. But would you consider doing some of your shows for Fringe or anything along those lines, like any kind of events and things like that?
Well, the original idea was make space, so we'd go around and put our shows on in random places, like in pubs or something, a bit like a band. and we want to do Fringe as well, but we missed out this year. But we're looking at doing it next year for sure.
Kind of like stand up in a sense, like trying to find, yeah. Oh, very cool. And so the play that's coming up now, so what is that about? And yeah, kind of just the synopsis of it all.
Well, it's all just a look into society and life and try to not poke fun at the bad parts, but trying to bring light into the bad parts of society, but also not make it too depressing. Yeah. It's just what I've seen and what I've written about and what influences me in my life and in my writing life. Yeah.
And so the play in general, so when and where will that be?
It's held at the House of Honey in the Swan Valley, and it's kind of on the grassed area. So it's not in the shop, it's out in the open. Everyone can bring a chair or a picnic blanket. We'll be selling a few snacks, and basically it's just like an hour of 3 shows. So 1 hour, 6:30 p.m. on Saturday the 16th and Sunday the 17th of February. It's just a fun theatre night, that's what it's called. Yeah.
And my last question would be, how can people get in touch with you, i.e. like other actors possibly, or just the general public to find out more information?
So we have a Facebook page, it's called Make Space Theatre Company, and we're very welcome to have new actors come aboard, especially new writers as well, or just creative people that if they want to design some costumes or help with prop making, this is their place to do that.
So thank you guys. I hope it all goes well, and yeah, we look forward to seeing it.
Thank you very much, and we hope to see you there.
Thank you for having us.
This has been Tegan for Undercurrent.
Don't go too far away. We'll be back after this break with more Perth stories here on Undercurrent.